As violence continues in Israel, in Gaza, in the conflicted territories, we have children and families in fear all over the region. And I seem to be getting into arguments with both left and right wingers. The left wingers saying I'm too pro-Israel, the right wingers saying I'm too anti-Israel. And I don't think there's ever going to be agreement between me and either side of this argument. But I think we have to keep talking about it, and I have some more thoughts today. We have terrorist rockets fired with the intent to kill civilians in Israel coming by the hundreds and thousands. There are bombing runs by Israel meant to take out where the rockets are coming from, and Hamas and other terrorist leaders going astray and killing civilians and killing innocent children. This is absolutely horrible. We have Palestinian terrorists launching rockets from schools and other populated areas, knowing that when Israel retaliates, they will be able to use those deaths, those tragic deaths, those deaths that are absolutely disgraceful, to their PR advantage, to further recruiting and further hatred of Jews, which will, of course, further ingrain in the religious extremist elements on the Israeli side that they need to continue the bombing. This vicious cycle does not seem to be going in a direction where we will see a true change anytime soon. Now, as viewers of this program know, I condemn the mission of Hamas to destroy Israel. I condemn their total disregard for the lives of the children and families that they endanger among their own people to continue to launch the hundreds and thousands of rockets intended to kill civilians. But I'm also condemning the strategy of Israel, which is in part led by these religious extremist elements, which are a minority in Israel, of maintaining the status quo of retaliation that is clearly not working, that regardless of why it is that the rockets are being fired from areas where there are civilians and children, they are killing civilians and children, and that is simply not going to lead to any kind of broader solution. I'm heartbroken over the families from Gaza who have innocent children dying, who have innocent relatives dying. It is absolutely horrible. And I also, of course, condemn the rockets from Gaza, which are not resistance according to international law, as they are deliberately sent to try to kill Israeli civilians. I condemn the racism in Israel and the calls for vengeance and incitement that are too common in Israel. And by the way, among the extremist Israeli politicians as well. I condemn that. This really has to end. There will be no peace if Hamas continues in power, which, by the way, the survey we looked at last week showed most Palestinians don't want Hamas in power. If Hamas continues in power with their strategy, with their goal, ultimate goal of eliminating Israel, there will never be peace. At the same time, there will never be peace if Israel does not stop the settlements. Do not release prisoners that have been correctly convicted. Don't do that, but stop the settlements. And the extremist religious elements in Israel, in the Knesset, refuse to do that. And that also is not a winning strategy. Israel has to stop that, Lewis, and Israel has to remove the religious elements that are, unfortunately, because of the way the multi-party system works, influencing policy there.
Yeah, both sides, David, need to remove the religious elements. And I would say good luck with that. There are just too many factors at play here for this to end quickly or easily or peacefully. I mean, this has been going on for how long? Unfortunately, I think this is going to continue for quite a while. I don't see any end in sight, unfortunately, because of all these factors.
Now, what I've just said will still probably lead to some people calling me anti-Palestinian. What I'm about to say will definitely lead to many people calling me anti-Israeli. And my point is this. Even if you, like me, agree that Israel, like any other country, has a right to defend itself, as any country would if they were on the receiving end of hundreds or thousands of rockets as they are, even if you agree, as I do, that Hamas does bear significant blame for their position as a systemic impediment to peace, and that the Palestinian deaths are happening in part because of how the Hamas rockets are being launched towards Israel, to justify the continued policy with anywhere from 25 to 75% of the Palestinian deaths being innocent civilians and children, you have to believe that it's going to lead to something productive, that it is going to get you closer to peace. And we know that that's not the case. So how do you justify a policy that is pragmatically ineffective and is leading to the deaths of many innocent civilians and children, even if they do want to see Israel destroyed? How do you support that, Louis?
Yeah, that's a good question to ask. Unfortunately, this is just a total quagmire, David, and there's no easy way out.
We've been saying for years what needs to change on the Palestinian side, but Israel's policy also needs to change. The religious extremists need to be out of power, and the settlements absolutely need to stop. And the rockets from Hamas and other groups in the territories absolutely need to stop. The policy of saying we won't stop until Israel does not exist, none of those ideas are going to get us any closer to any kind of peace agreement there, and we'll continue to follow it and see what happens. We'll see if President Obama's involvement as maybe a broker of ceasefire or peace has any impact. I don't know.